So guys, I'll say that again. Let's say you just meet someone. You just meet someone. As soon as you meet them, you say, I wouldn't believe what I just saw outside. 2 weeks ago, this guy outside started to paint his shop, and I saw he just finished it. He completely redesigned his shop. And I spoke to him. He did it by himself. He just redesigned his whole shop and repainted the whole thing in 2 weeks. Wow. That guy knows how to take action. That guy gets shit done. That guy knows how to take action. Anyway, so what's happening with you, mate? Oh,
No.
Serena, someone's got it. Yay!
Adrian, you really have a very unique way of teaching. I love it. It's funny.
So as soon as you meet them, you go to shake their hand and you say, hey, you wouldn't believe what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
You can have your metaphor for them wrapped up. Hi, Adrian here, NLP trainer and coach. This video that you're about to watch is filmed in a live Zoom class. We have expatriates based all around the world, and we do these classes and we share a little bit with you because we think it's important that you get to see what goes on behind closed doors and how some of these processes really work. I hope you enjoy. Make sure you click the subscribe button, and we'll see you at the end. Okay, now there are some times when we're gonna want to have stories from our own experience. So if Valentine, is it okay if we keep working with what you said before?
Yes, of course.
Use it as an example. Okay, just want to use it as an example. As an example, let's just say, Valentine, you're not. Okay, you're not. You are an action taker, and you are an excellent action taker. I love the way you just. Sometimes you don't even really think things through. You just jump in and you just take action. That's awesome. But let's say for a moment that he wasn't. He wasn't. Okay, Valentine, you just need to take action. His defenses will go up. Yeah. So sometimes people's defenses will go up, or the ego will go up. So when the ego goes up, we might want to make a story that's far out.
Okay.
But I wonder if I could say, hey, Valentine, just for a second, that just reminded me of something. Hang on, just for a second, that reminded me of something. You know, when I was young, I'll never forget this TV show. I can't remember the name of it, but in this TV show, blah, 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 blah. I might actually start with V, visual, blah, blah, blah. Auditory, blah, blah, blah. Kinesthetic, blah, blah, blah. Because you know that's a really good story. Or perhaps Valentine responds very well to the visual world. So I'll tell him, yeah, sorry, that just reminds me of a story. Short story, man. I used to watch this TV show, and it was like those, green, luscious jungles in like South America or something, the ones that look absolutely beautiful and pristine. And it was a bit of a cartoon. And, it was this guy who was lost in the jungle. And he was looking for the way through the jungle. And from time to time, he was chased by different animals and warriors. And this whole show was about him and his time in this beautiful green, luscious jungle. And anyway, this guy, what he had to do was he had to build a farm. But the thing was, there was an obstacle. I don't actually say what the obstacle is. Blah, 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 blah. There was an obstacle, blah, 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 blah. And the guy had to find a way through the obstacle. And every time he would try to build the farm, you know, this obstacle would come.
Adrian, maybe we can make it an actual example, because you explained what I kind of...
Yeah. We are going to make actual examples. We're going to make actual examples. And that the key is that this guy found a way. And what he had to do was he had to get up off his ass and do it. No, so he had to just get started, and he just had to do it, you know. And he had to recognize that, you know, that the bad guys are always going to come from him. There were always going to be things coming and destroying the farm, but he just had to get started and just had to go for it. Anyway, sorry, I just when you said about, you know, it just reminded me of that story. Okay, so now Valentine has just processed this story about cartoon world and a guy trying to build a farm. So he's just processed the whole story about a farm, and it's not so direct. So it's easier for Valentine to figure out. And it's easier for Valentine to go, okay, so it's not direct. I'm not telling him he has to get off his ass and do it. I'm using the metaphor from the story. Now, I could use a story from TV, but I can also just meet him. And at the very start, as soon as I meet him, hey, Valentine, you wouldn't believe what happened. You wouldn't believe what happened. I just met this man outside your building. And I remember seeing this man 2 weeks ago when I was here. And since then, this guy has just redesigned and repainted his whole shop. And I think he's done it all by himself. He's just redesigned, repainted his whole shop in the last 2 weeks. Wow. Anyway, Valentine, what have you been up to?
What I'm up to?
What have you been up to? Okay, so you get the guys, as soon as I meet him, as soon as I go up and meet him, I say, hi, Valentine. I just saw this guy outside. I saw him 2 weeks ago. In the last 2 weeks, he just repainted and redesigned his whole shop. Anyway, what are you up to? Shake your hand.
Yeah, just...
Okay, guys, what's just happened here? What's just happened?
With me, I got stuck a little bit.
That's right. And you're thinking, this guy has just painted a shop outside for 2 weeks. Anyway, we continue our talk. And in your unconscious, you've got this story of a guy outside that's just redesigned his shop in 2 weeks. You don't know why, but you're motivated and you want to start doing something. So guys, I'll say that again. Let's say you just meet someone. You just meet someone. As soon as you meet them, you say, I wouldn't believe what I just saw outside. 2 weeks ago, this guy outside started to paint his shop, and I saw that he just finished it. He completely redesigned his shop. And I spoke to him. He did it by himself. He just redesigned his whole shop and repainted the whole thing in 2 weeks. Wow. That guy knows how to take action. That guy gets shit done. That guy knows how to take action. Anyway, so what's happening with you, mate? Oh,
No.
Karina, someone's got it. Yay!
Adrian, you really have a very unique way of teaching. I love it. It's funny.
So as soon as you meet them, you go to shake their hand and you say, hey, you wouldn't believe what just happened. You can have your metaphor for them wrapped up. Now you start to talk to your client, and in the first 5 minutes, you've already programmed them with this story about this guy who just renovated his whole shop by himself, rebranded and painted in 2 weeks by himself. And now, sorry, Valentine's going to say, oh, sorry, I haven't been able to do my homework. Yeah, or I haven't been able to get a client. In the back of his mind, he's got the story about a guy outside who's painted his whole shop by himself in 2 weeks. You see? Yeah. Now, how easy is it to start a conversation? Hi, hey, just before we start, you should have just seen what happened. Or, hi, how are you? How are you? Oh, I'm awesome. You wouldn't believe what just happened. I just met this person outside. You know, they've been wanting this business for so long, and they just paid like $5,000 for my car. You know, they've been wanting it, and they've just paid $5,000, and now they got it, and they are so happy. Anyway, we're here today to talk about coaching. So yes, you could start your story metaphor with someone who just paid $10,000 for coaching or something. Oh, how are you today? Oh, I'm excellent. I just started a coaching package. I just hired this coach. I'm doing this amazing coach training. I spent a lot of money doing it, but I know this is going to get me a phenomenal result. So anyway, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. What's going on in your life? Get the idea? There's also a great example, because, you know, I've probably had about 40 hours training, just 40, 50 hours training and using metaphors. Okay, so I've had 40 to 50 hours training in using metaphors. It's big. We're condensing it here because it's NLP prac. So I've got like 40 hours training in metaphors, really, really cracking it down. Milton Erickson would often have a first session with a client, and it would be information gathering, lots of notes, and then he would formulate a story, and in the story would be the solution.
I like that.
There was a couple that visited Milton Erickson because they had just reached retirement. And for most of their married life, this older couple had planned on traveling and doing extravagant and beautiful things when they hit retirement. Now, this poor old man finally hit the retirement age, and his wife was like, no, don't really want to travel anymore, dear. And the man started to go a bit bonkers because he really had his hopes. He really had his hopes that him and his lovely wife would go traveling places, but she didn't want to go anywhere. So he got into gardening and sucked at gardening, got into golf and sucked at golf, and just drank and played some cards. But one day he was playing cards and someone mentioned to him Milton Erickson. And he gave Mr. Milton Erickson a visit. Took his wife down to see Milton Erickson, and they had a bit of couples therapy, and they went in to see Milton Erickson, and next thing you know, Milton Erickson's telling them a story, some kind of story about a blinding, flashing light, and that she would or he would experience a blinding flash of light. And I didn't know where it would be, but, you know, you would experience or you would find this blinding flash of light. Anyway, that ended their session with Milton Erickson. And Milton Erickson, you know, he generally tells people, you know, come back in 2 weeks or come back in a month. And Milton Erickson told them, don't come back. And the man and his wife left, and it was a bit strange. And, you know, they went to the counter and they were a bit surprised because 2 hours had passed. They didn't realize how 2 hours had passed. But anyway, they went on home and life continued. And the man was actually pretty pissed off because Milton Erickson has such a big, you know, reputation for his work, but didn't do bugger all. So the man's in retirement now and nothing much is happening. And his wife went out the backyard, you know, hang out the washing on the old clothesline, and had this little idea. had this little idea. Anyway, she brings in the washing, and for the first time in a while, she walked around the house, just walked around the house looking. Nothing much happened. A couple of days passed, and she went for a walk down the road, and she went for a walk around the block. And she was still wondering, what's this blinding flash of light that the Milton Erickson had spoke about? I don't know. And, she started to go out a bit more with her husband, and she went down the shops with him, and she found herself walking around the shops, exploring around the shops. And next thing you know, she suggested to her husband that next time they go shopping somewhere else. And they went shopping somewhere else. And she was still wondered what this blinding flash of light would be. Next thing you know, they're driving to the next town, and they're exploring further and further. And they start flying around the country. And next thing you know, they're in Italy. They're in Paris. They're in Greece. And still she's wondering, a smile on her face, about this blinding flash of light. And that's how it works sometimes. Now, there was one other part of the story, was that things would change. Things would change with that blinding flash of light. Okay, so that story planted the seeds. And I don't have to tell you the moral of the story. I don't have to tell you anything more about the story, because you were just in the story experiencing it. Okay, so stories are an absolutely wonderful thing for creating change in people. Now, we can tell the story inside a hypnosis, which is what Milton Erickson would do. He would have people relax more. And then he would tell the story, maybe one, maybe two, maybe three stories.
Boom! You made it here! Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live, free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.